Story 1. The Lake That Remembers 4,000 Words. The summer of 2019 hit Black Hollow, Georgia like a fever. The air shimmered above the asphalt and Lake Meridian looked inviting under the brutal sun. Dark water ringed by cypress trees dripping with Spanish moss. Locals said the lake was bottomless in places. Kids didn't care. They jumped from the old rope swing anyway. Tyler and his cousin Marcus drove down from Atlanta for 2 weeks at their grandma's cabin. Tyler was 17, lanky, always scrolling on his phone. Marcus was 19, the loud one with the truck and the endless supply of warm beer. "Best summer ever, bro," Marcus said as they unloaded coolers. The heat made everything smell like pine resin and rotting vegetation. On the third night, after the sun finally dipped and the air stayed thick at 88 degrees Fahrenheit, even at midnight, they took the canoe out. Fireflies danced over the water. Frogs croaked so loud it felt like the whole lake was breathing. Halfway across, Marcus killed the flashlight. "You hear that?" Tyler strained. Beneath the insect chorus came a low, rhythmic slapping, like wet hands on wood, but slower. Then a child's giggle, clear and close. "No kids out here this late," Tyler whispered. They paddled faster toward the far shore, where an old abandoned dock jutted out. The giggling stopped. Something heavy slid into the water behind them with barely a splash. They tied up at the rotting dock and climbed onto the warped planks. The wood was warm from the day's sun. Marcus lit a joint. That's when they saw the first handprint. Small, child-sized, pressed into the soft moss on the post. It looked fresh. Water still beaded around the edges. "Probably some kids messing around earlier," Marcus said, but his voice lacked its usual swagger. They explored a little. The trees here grew denser, blocking even the moonlight. Tyler's phone showed no signal. The slapping sound returned closer now, accompanied by dripping. Then they found the toys. A rusted red wagon half sunk in the mud. Plastic dolls with melted faces from the heat. A single yellow rain boot, small enough for a 5-year-old. All arranged in a perfect circle around a shallow depression in the dirt that looked like a grave that had been dug up. Marcus laughed nervously. "Creepy as hell, but it's just junk." A voice drifted from the water. High, sweet, and wrong. "Come play. It's so hot down here." Tyler's skin prickled. They ran back to the canoe. As they pushed off, Tyler looked back. On the dock stood a small silhouette, dripping wet. Head tilted, it waved slowly with one hand. The other hand was missing fingers. They paddled like mad. The giggling followed them the entire way across. When they reached Grandma's dock, Marcus swore the canoe had extra weight, something dragging behind, bumping the hull. That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan just pushed hot air around. Around 3 a.m., he heard wet footsteps in the hallway. Small feet, patter, patter, patter. Then a child's voice right outside his door. "You left your phone on the dock. I brought it back." He never opened the door. The next morning, the canoe was gone. Marcus said he must have forgotten to tie it properly, but Tyler noticed the dock had new handprints. Adult-sized this time, matching his own hands, pressed right where he'd gripped the edge in panic. They tried to leave that afternoon. The truck wouldn't start. Battery dead, even though it was brand new. Grandma just smiled her toothless summer smile and said, "Lake don't like when folks leave too soon. It remembers the ones who played here in '58. Whole family drowned. Kids first." That evening they went back. Had to retrieve the canoe, Marcus insisted. The lake was mirror still, reflecting the orange sky like molten metal. As they approached the far dock, they saw their canoe already there, perfectly tied. And standing in it was a little girl in a faded yellow swimsuit, skin bloated and pale, eyes milky white. She smiled with too many teeth. "Come swim," she said in Marcus's voice. "It's cooler down here, forever." Tyler ran. Marcus didn't. The last thing Tyler heard was his cousin laughing. Then the splash. Tyler made it back to the cabin alone. The truck started immediately. He drove through the night, windows down, hot wind whipping his face. In the rearview mirror, he kept seeing small, wet handprints appearing on the glass from the inside. He never went back to Black Hollow. But every hot summer night since, when the air gets heavy and the cicadas scream, he hears giggling from his backyard pool. And sometimes, when he checks the water at dawn, there are new toys floating. A red wagon, a melted doll, and one yellow rain boot. The lake remembers, and it's still so very, very hot down there. End of story 1. Story 2. The ice cream truck that never left. Summers in suburban Phoenix, Arizona are brutal. 115 degrees Fahrenheit days where the asphalt softens and mirages dance on the horizon. In 2008, the neighborhood kids lived for the ice cream truck that rolled through Maple Grove every afternoon around 4 p.m. It played a warped version of Pop Goes the Weasel that echoed between the identical beige houses. The driver was Mr. Benny. Old, smiling too wide, always in a stained white uniform, even when the thermometer broke records. Kids loved him. He gave extra scoops on especially hot days and never seemed to sweat. Jake was 12 that summer, skinny, obsessed with Pokemon cards, and terrified of the dark, even though it didn't get truly dark until almost 9 p.m. His best friend Miguel lived 3 houses down. They'd chase the truck on their bikes, pockets full of crumpled dollar bills. One blistering Tuesday, the music sounded off, slower, like the tape was melting in the heat. Mr. Benny's smile looked painted on when he handed Jake a rocket pop. "Special flavor today, kid, for the brave ones." Jake licked it. Tasted like normal cherry, but colder than it should have been, almost burning his tongue in the 110-degree heat. That night, Jake dreamed of the truck parked under a streetlight, engine running, music playing backward. Mr. Benny stood beside it waving, but his shadow on the pavement had too many arms. The next day, the truck came earlier, 2 p.m. Only a few kids showed up. Miguel was one. He climbed inside the truck for a tour while Jake waited outside, melting under the sun. Miguel never came back out. The truck drove away playing its happy tune, but Jake swore he heard screaming mixed in with the melody. Parents called the police. "Ice cream man took my boy," Miguel's mom cried. Cops found nothing. No truck registered to any Mr. Benny in the county. The company that owned the route said their driver had been on vacation for 2 weeks. But the truck kept coming every day. Kids started disappearing. Always the ones who got the special flavors. The neighborhood emptied of children by mid-July. Adults sweated in their locked houses with AC blasting, whispering about the heat making people crazy. Jake's mom forbade him from going outside after 1 p.m., but on the hottest day of the year, 118 degrees Fahrenheit, Jake heard the music right outside his window. The truck was parked on the lawn, tires sinking into the softening grass. Mr. Benny stood at the open side door, holding a dripping cone. "Free today, Jake. Miguel's inside. He misses you." It's nice and cool in the freezer." Jake ran to the backyard. The music followed, now playing from every direction. He hid in the shed. Through the slats, he saw neighbors walking toward the truck like zombies, faces blank, sweat pouring down. That night, the power went out across the whole block. In the pitch black, rare for summer, Jake heard the truck's engine idling in the street. The music was gone. Only the sound of many small voices humming "Pop Goes the Weasel" in perfect unison. He peeked out his window. The truck's interior light was on. Inside, rows of children sat on metal shelves like popsicles, skin frosted, eyes open, smiling with blue lips. Miguel was there, waving slowly. Mr. Benny's face filled the window. But it wasn't a face anymore. Just a melting mask over something with too many teeth and eyes that reflected the streetlights like headlights. Jake's mom screamed from the living room. Then silence. The next morning, the power was back. The truck was gone. So were half the families on the street. Moving trucks filled the cul-de-sac by noon. Jake still lives in Phoenix. He's 30 now. Every summer, when the temperature climbs past 110 and the air conditioner struggles, he hears faint music blocks away. He never eats ice cream. And he never ever opens the door when the bell rings on a blazing hot afternoon. Because sometimes the truck still comes, and the special flavor is always cold enough to stop your heart. End of story 2. Story 3. The Cornfield at Midnight, rural Iowa, summer 2022. The corn grew tall and green under the endless blue sky, swaying in the hot wind like it was whispering secrets. Fields stretched for miles, broken only by gravel roads and the occasional farmhouse with a creaking windmill. Sarah had come back to her grandparents' farm after college to reset. The city was too loud, too fast. Here, the days were slow and sticky. She spent afternoons walking the rows, the silk tassels brushing her arms, the earth baking under her sneakers. Grandpa warned her, "Stay out of the east field after dark. Corn plays tricks when the heat lingers." She laughed it off. Iowa summers were magical. Fireflies, distant thunder, the smell of growing things. One night the heat wouldn't break even at 11 p.m. Temperature still 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity like breathing soup. Sarah couldn't sleep. She grabbed a flashlight and slipped out toward the east field. The corn was taller than her head now, a green wall under the moon. She walked the narrow path between rows. The stalks rustled even when the wind died. Footsteps? No. Just the corn. Deeper in, she found a clearing she didn't remember. Perfect circle of flattened stalks. In the center, a scarecrow. But not the usual one. This one wore clothes that looked fresh. Jeans, a red t-shirt like her own, and a sack head with stitched smile. Its arms hung wrong. Two long fingers made of twisted corn husks. Sarah laughed nervously. Grandpa's sense of humor. She turned to leave. The path behind her was gone. Corn closed in. She spun. Every direction looked the same. Panic rose with the heat. Then the whispering started. Hundreds of dry voices in the stalks. "Stay, it's cooler here. Join the rows." Her flashlight beam caught movement. Figures between the plants. People-shaped, but their skin was green-veined like leaves, eyes black kernels. They moved stiffly, rustling as they walked. Sarah ran. Leaves cut her arms like paper. She tripped over something soft. A body. No. A husk. Empty corn husk in the shape of a person. Clothes shredded. Face carved into a permanent scream. The scarecrow was closer now. Its head turned. The stitched mouth opened. You picked the wrong summer to come home, Sarah." She screamed and bolted. The corn parted just enough. She burst onto the gravel road, gasping, covered in sweat and tiny cuts. Grandpa was waiting on the porch with a shotgun. "Told you, girl. The field gets hungry in July, takes one every few years, replaces them with stalks that walk like people." The next morning, Sarah packed to leave. But when she looked out at the east field, one of the scarecrows wore her exact red t-shirt from last night, and it was waving. She stayed another week, then another. By August, she barely left the house. The corn whispered her name every night through the open window. When harvest came in October, the combine found something strange in the east field. A perfect human-shaped stalk, green and tall, with Sarah's face pressed flat between the leaves, smiling forever. The farmer just shook his head. "Damn summer heat. Makes the corn grow weird sometimes." End of story 3. Hope these gave you proper chills on a hot summer night. The sticky heat, the endless daylight turning sinister, the feeling that something is always watching from the shadows while you sweat. If you want longer versions, different endings, or more stories, camping, beach, road trip themes, just tell me. Stay cool out there or don't. The dark likes it when you're uncomfortable.